All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Center for Family Business's first webinar, Attracting Talent, Part 1 of 3 in our Human Capital Strategies for 2019 series. So the Center for Family Business at Northeastern University provides high-quality education, networking, and support to business families in a non-commercial and confidential group environment. Our primary purpose is helping members navigate the intricate family business landscape by both identifying and helping them to avoid potential pitfalls, solving complex interpersonal and family business issues, and also planning for future family business success in an ever-changing and increasingly competitive arena. Before I hand things over to Gabby Jenkins and Meryl Mahoney from Research Management of Boston, our technical experts in all things human capital, I want to thank everyone for tuning in and remind you that the recorded session will be sent out via email next week. Without further ado, I will turn things over to Gabby and Meryl.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you can hear me. Thank you for attending this kickoff of the webinar series hosted by Northeastern. Today, we're going to be talking about attracting talent. And the structure of how we're going to do this is sort of the content is about 20 minutes, but we would love questions. So there is an opportunity to chat. There's a little purple box in the bottom right-hand corner. And if you have questions, Karina will be moderating and sort of collecting those questions. Mostly I'll probably kind of hold to the end to answer them, but would definitely encourage any questions, thoughts that you have, happy to share in all of that. So by way of introduction, my name is Gabby Jenkins. I'm a partner at Resource Management of Boston. We work a lot with privately held and family held businesses, working on, we call it sort of the talent part of the stool, of the business stool, really just on helping organizations understand their team, really be able to kind of scale and grow, and improve their success, both as they're looking externally to bring new people in, but also internally to grow and develop the team, and provide a wide variety of solutions for all that. So today it's about attracting, and we broke this down in terms of how do I attract strong candidates to my organization? How do I stand out in a competitive market, and then how do I keep them engaged? Certainly the first two questions we're going to talk about today, and the session on Thursday will be more about the engagement component. But we really tried to boil it down to two simple answers in terms of how do I attract people. The first is really embracing and understanding the culture of your organization and what its motivation is and how you want to put that out to the market, and then also to really modernize and share. And our goal is to give you some food for thought. Our approach is very pragmatic. We like to give sort of practical, cost-effective, and full solutions. We tend to not, want to make things more complex than they need to be, and understand that resources are always strained and time is strained. So we don't want to make it, complicated. We want to make it easy. So, the first piece is putting your stake in the ground, right? So we're looking at your culture of, the first question is what, right? So what do you do? Usually that's pretty easy. We provide a product, we provide a service, whatever that is. Most companies are very comfortable with that. Who are you as an organization? What does it look like, feel like to work at your company? But then second is, who do you work with? This isn't, the audience of today wants more information. I know I was raised in an environment of sort of need to know basis. The world has changed a lot, and we'll talk about that a little bit more in terms of, wanting more data and more access and more transparency. Then last is what's your culture, right? And that's sort of what drives the organization. What are the values? What are the components that make it unique? And if it's not clear, you can't really stand out. And really the goal in attracting is to attract the people that'll thrive in your culture and repel those that won't, right? And that sounds like kind of harsh words, but in our view, we've all had someone that hasn't fit in the organization. And it usually has a lot to do with they didn't fit in the culture. They could do the job, but they just didn't have that alignment. So we want to make it more sort of, again, obvious of what that culture is and who's going to thrive in it. The last piece of this, and there's just a great TED Talk, Simon Sinek did a TED Talk about why. He wrote a book about Start With Why. If you haven't watched it, it's a great use of your time to just get an overview of this. It also relates to, it's both from an internal perspective in terms of employees and attracting people, also an external perspective of how you stand out to your customers. So we use the word stake in the ground a lot. You want to make sure that it's really clear to people what you're all about. The next piece of this is, how do you get information today? Is it a phone call, right? Do you go to the library? Do you mail away for a brochure and wait for it to come in the mail? Obviously, that's not the case. None of those, that's not what we're using to get our information these days. We are going to our devices, as I call them, the dangles. And if information can't be found on your device, you're going to be out of the game from the start. So the second piece of that is it's an information of sharing and, quite frankly, oversharing. People are looking for more information. They're looking for you to kind of be willing to kind of overshare what you are about. And, here we are, most of us, I'm assuming, are in good old conservative New England, where we're even a little bit more hesitant to share and open up about these things. So we get a lot with our clients is it's not a comfortable thing, and it's not what most of us are used to. So I want to give you some examples of what that could look like for you and your organization. So the first thing is your online presence. If your website hasn't been updated in the last 3 years, it's time to revisit it. And the first thing you want to look at is it directed towards future employees versus customers? We all built our websites years ago as a brochure calling card for what we did as a business, but didn't really focus as much from an employee perspective and a future employee perspective. So that's the first look that you want to take towards your website. The next is, can they feel that what, who, why through the pictures and the words on your website? So, and we'll give you some examples of that as well. Do you have a careers page, and does it go a little bit deeper in terms of what it feels to work like in your organization? And then the last is the advanced version of all this is, does it have video? This is how the younger generation learns. It's very experiential. They're looking at interactive component to kind of get that look into the company. So the first company that we have is, it's called H.H. Hunt. It is a family-held business, and we thought it was a great example of being able to hit this, our culture, what we're about. This is the About Us page. You see these people, they're happy, they're active. We talk about our culture in terms of inspiring and empowering team members to fully live out the brand promises and values. So they're not being shy about it. They're being pretty assertive in terms of putting themselves out there. Similarly, they've got, and so you don't have to spend a lot of time on this. Very quickly, you see this is a very relationship focused organization. People are in almost every slide, every place you look on this website. They're really focused on people and relationships. Now, your company might be more technical, right? And it's about learning and product. That's fine too, because those are the people that you want to attract. But they're being pretty assertive in terms of people and relationships. The other thing you can see here is that we promise to be employee-centered, customer-focused, provider of quality, and an engaged partner. And then if you click on this website, each of these has a supporting video. And what we liked about this as an example is it's not fancy. It's they're pretty basic videos. The employees are sharing their experiences, but it's not super high tech, and it's not overproduced. So it's a simple video that can be brought in to added into your website that shows more about what you're all about. And another example of this similarly is in terms of that culture, that why of what you do. This is what, they're standing out: trust, competence, passion, forward thinking, and collaboration. Each of these also has a supporting video to explain what that means, and as told by the people in the company. So it's pretty high touch without being too high tech. And then this last piece again is just you see sort of the energy, the enthusiasm, the pride of what what they want to say to their employees, what they want to say to the potential people looking at the company. And so it's just, again, it's that theme that you see, runs throughout, and it certainly is a reflection of what they're all about. This last piece is, again, another example of those whys, but this is, their leadership talking about what that means from a business perspective in terms of what they do, but then also what it means as being an employer ultimately. And then the next one we wanted to give you was Grovo, which is it's a learning management program, but coming across very strong with their mission to help companies equip employees that thrive no matter what. Forward-thinking companies equip their employees to perform at their best. So again, they're putting both their platform of their business and their service of what they provide, their product that they provide, but also as that relates to their organization. One of the things that stood out for us with this one is everybody's smiling. Their pictures all had people smiling, all had people, brought that energy to it. But right out here, we talked about sort of again, in the who of, who they do business. They're sharing their customers. They're putting that information right out there, because not only I'm going to research this company to look at what it would mean to work there and what they do, but also being able to see who and where. So again, simple, just put those logos on there, share those success stories, and usually this effort, it's beneficial because it also could be case studies from a customer facing component as well. Similarly, again, just, this company specifically has a lot of great diversity. They're putting that out there. They're sort of promoting it. There's a casual nature to them, no suits and ties, whatever it might be. And this is where, if you're a suit and tie company, that's totally okay. That's what it should look like. If you have a more formal culture, if you have a more conservative culture, put that out there as well. There's no good or bad. It's really more about the fact that you want to present it in the authentic way that it is, and again, opportunity to attract through that visual of people really being able to see, and then ultimately their careers page talks about working happy, right? Being the best version of yourself, encountering amazing people, do the work that you're meant to do. They're just saying a lot about what they're all about. And for some people, if I'm an introvert and I'm looking at this, this might be a little terrifying to me, right? I want to be in an environment that has, that allows me to just kind of, work in my lab, work in my technical space. I don't, want to be in an environment that's super collaborative, and that's an expectation of the company. So it's in being more assertive in terms of putting these things out there. It also kind of saves some time, because if I'm that more introverted person and I'm reading about this and being, some of the stuff just doesn't appeal to me, I'm not going to apply. So that's one less resume, and maybe that's, a win-win. The next piece, and again, some of these things, are slightly obvious, but also really super important in terms of attracting people, is you've got to take a look at your social media and utilization of it, knowing that this is where everybody starts. So the next step after you've looked at your website and looked at that presence is looking at LinkedIn, right? Does your company have a LinkedIn page? And they're free. That's the good news. So you can create a LinkedIn page for your company, but similarly, is it targeted towards customers or potential employees or both? In the long run, you want both. College students as freshmen are being directed to create LinkedIn profiles. So this is, going forward, this is where, and certainly for professional roles, where the job search is starting. Is at LinkedIn. They've done a really good job, and we'll hit that a lot more tomorrow, of creating a really powerful, intuitive site for both candidates but also employers. So they did it so well. It makes it kind of hard to not use it, because they make it easy. It is a tool for recruiting. They have a job posting component, but also just if you want to do a more active search, you can learn a lot. Again, that's tomorrow's subject, so hopefully you'll come back. The last piece is also news. This is where a lot of people start their day on that LinkedIn homepage, reading about their network, reading about their connections, reading about their customers and what's happening with them. So, if your presence is not as strong there, and you're not posting and all of those things, it's going to, again, be hard to stand out, so you can attract those people in. Next is Glassdoor. And for those of you that don't know what Glassdoor is essentially Yelp for employers. So the good news and bad news of Glassdoor. So Glassdoor, you don't get a Glassdoor page can be created about your company without you. And what they're doing is the employees are rating their experience at working at your company. So again, now people are starting to look for a Glassdoor rating, and when they're thinking about applying for a job. So what you want to do is be able to become an engaged employer, so that you can kind of polish your image. As far as, this is Boeing, is a huge company, but they have a little video in here, and they have a 3.5 Glassdoor rating, but they have a video that kind of gives that overview of what it looks to work at this company. They're actually using it to post jobs and things, so they're taking a more aggressive, proactive approach. But at a bare minimum, our recommendation is to find out if your company has a Glassdoor rating, and certainly be able to see what people are hearing about you, are saying about you, and also you can also encourage your employees to go out there and provide that rating as well, which can help people see the experience in a more proactive way. And then the last piece is Twitter. And I struggle on this one because I'm not a big Twitter person ultimately, but the way we saw it as a key to attracting and a key to making more of a presence out, in your industry, in your area, whatever it might be, is that Twitter is just news. So again, historically, we have websites. We do updates to our websites that talk about a new product that we released or a new partnership that we did. So it's just a little step farther in doing what most of us have been doing in some form or another on our website. So if you're going to update your website, you want to update your Twitter feed. You're also, LinkedIn and Twitter can tie together, so you can accomplish all of those at one time. But being able to promote things about your business is another way that is that visual attraction of people seeing into your business. So even if you can do it once a week, we have clients that basically have created a calendar and engaged the team to weekly, one person is sort of the tweeter of the week, right? So they're thinking about an article that they want to post or something that happened internally that they want to post. So you can engage. It doesn't have to be one person's job. And it's another way to engage your team of, we're not so much on this Twitter stuff. Can you guys help us out? So it's a way to help, engage the team in sharing more about your company. And you learn a little bit too, is what they think you should be saying about the organization. So it's not just purely an exercise. A lot can be learned. And it is how a lot of people gather news these days. So you can improve involvement from the team. You can improve your presence out there. And again, thankfully, technology makes it pretty easy to accomplish all these things with sort of one click or one tweet. So I'm almost perfectly on time. My goal is 20 minutes. So we wanted to keep these practical and pragmatic, and really reinforcing the message that every single company is very, very different. So whatever that unique component of your organization, you really want to be able to kind of make that stand out. And there is no better or worse. It's just whatever is unique to your company and what matters to your company, you want to put that out there. So revisit your website. Think about it from a potential employee's perspective, because that's certainly where they're going to start in learning more about your company, and looking for what it means to have a career at your organization. Confirm that you're promoting that who, what, and why, right? What do we do? Who are we, and who do we do it with, and why do we do it? And try to bring some consistency there ultimately. See if you have a company LinkedIn page and update that as well with all of those components. Check your Glassdoor rating. You do want to try to take control and list existing employees to submit ratings. I will say sometimes, we hear from clients that, well, only unhappy people put Glassdoor ratings up there. And our answer to that is, yes, that could be true, but at the same time, it is what it is. And I think all of us have kind of experienced, the benefit of this. Certainly Yelp, if you look at a company, they're replying to their ratings and making improvements. If for whatever reason you have a negative, rating or a bad comment, it's something you're going to want to address one way or the other. So it is a learning tool, but also I think you'd be surprised if you ask your employees to go out and give their Glassdoor ratings. It'll help you, again, learn more about what people perceive as why they love working at your company, why it's a great place to work, what the leadership provides, all of those things. And then, if you're not already active on social media, at a bare minimum, LinkedIn and Twitter are the ones that we refer, certainly in a more B2B. Obviously, Instagram and Facebook have the more B2C approach, but you don't have to take it completely on by yourself. There are people that love doing these things. You'll learn about what they want to, what they think you should share, and be able to kind of get more insights. So I guess I'll stop for questions. I don't know if any of them in. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question. Okay, so for anybody who hasn't started this exploration into maybe who they are, what they do, why they do it in terms of attracting people to eventually recruit, where would you recommend they start that brain exercise?
That's a great question. I think what family business has, I'm not going to say it's easy, but has an even greater opportunity, because usually they have the legacy and sort of the elements of and the history of this built, the business, how it was founded, what the evolution has occurred. So, and I think the reason why we point to the website is, in a lot of cases, you want to start that because, back when we all had to create websites, we started to have to answer some of those who, what, why questions, and we had to answer how we were going to present ourselves out to the marketplace. So that's where we did, sort of that, because a lot of cases it's your mission, your values. That most companies have created a mission statement, a value, core value if you can start there, because it's work that's already, usually has been, created, and then sort of elevate off of that. And I think that's the piece is, what are those, motivators? What are those values? Is it learning? Is it technology? Is it service? Is it quality? Those words will start to come together, and you'll see those trends from a, what makes us unique in our business, and what makes us stand out. I think another thing also, and we're going to talk about this on in I think Thursday's program, is a lot of cases is doing it. Do an employee survey. Ask some questions about that. I think it'd be, one of the things we recommend is sort of do it two ways. As a, your sort of core leadership team, ask them to write down, what do we do? Who do we do it? Who are we, right? And why do we do it? If everybody on the sort of leadership team wrote that down and had a discussion about it, it would be, really interesting. If you, put out a survey to the team and ask some questions, and even Glassdoor is a great place to go look at sort of the ratings and what employees are looking for and what the experiences that they're rating, and collect that. And we're big proponents of sort of blips versus trends. You're always going to have a few one-off statements that don't align with the way everybody else looks at things, but consider the 80-20 rule. Know that most trends, most things come in, sort of 80% of the population has about the same general opinion on it. So start with your leadership team, expand it to your employees if you're comfortable.
Awesome, thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And so tomorrow we're doing recruit with more sort of active strategies of how to find people. And then Thursday we're doing retain and engage. And when Karina asked us to do this, we felt like we really wanted to break it into these 3 bite-sized pieces, because it's sort of 3 different sets of activity. And again, you'll find our approach is pretty pragmatic, trying to not make it too complex, but also kind of give you some thoughts for what you can bring back to your company. So thank you all for your time. Appreciate it, and hopefully you will return with us tomorrow.
Great, thank you so much, Gabby. Really appreciate it. I know I took a lot away from this, so wonderful.